Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Weekend Frivolity. This is our Broiler Chicken Show. Bark, 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 bark. It is Sunday. Where are we here? Sunday 20. Actually, show it over on this screen. Sunday, 28th of March. If there's something I had to get done by the end of March, I better get it done. Yeah, in fact, actually, 3-day settlement. Position squaring. Wanting to show that mutual funds had the most appropriate stocks on the books, and the stocks they didn't like, and people don't want to see on their statements when they open them up for quarter one end. Probably expect to see those stocks get whacked a bit more here tomorrow. It is quarter end, and actually our first 2 week study, sector rotation. I think Grim was teasing the level oneers with a bit of the further module course material that we teach on the site this morning, and I think he was reaching for that first 2 week study that we do. It was suggesting that we're at basically a market top of energy market. And probably what ends up happening is this just keeps going until the Fed says, all right, enough is enough. And they start raising interest rates, and the whole cycle goes into the reset mode, and the various different components that do better based on when interest rates are rising, things like financials, utilities, healthcare and stuff, they'll start to outperform. But until then, I think you probably can continue to expect to see a lot of this sort of price action that we have seen over the past little while. I mean, what's been sort of on everybody's lips over the past, I don't know, maybe about 3 or 4 months. I mean, there's been one word, and everybody now, the public, is totally obsessed with it. Which is so ironic because it's totally the end of the cycle. There's nothing you can do about it now. Sort of like standing there with the barn doors flapping, and we're standing there watching the horses gallop over the horizon and asking each other whether we should have closed the barn door last night. That's probably the best way to look at this bugaboo right now. And yeah, of course, I'm going to make you all work. So what the hell's that damn word I'm looking for? Pay attention! Actually, the level 1 course today, I was like, you had better get working on your paper trades, you level 1ers. I want to see 100 goddamn paper trades. Grim has demanded it of you, and frankly, I was impressed when he laid down that gauntlet. Actually, Grim's been teaching our level 1 course for, maybe even a couple of years now. And I really warmed to that idea. I mean, you sons of bitches, you came here, you paid us good money to learn how to trade. We're telling you, you gotta do those goddamn paper trades. No ifs, no buts, no excuses. You either do it and you learn the process and you understand how this game works, or you don't do it and you're just full of hot air. Simple as that, people. And ironically enough, that's why you paid us the money. You paid us the money to learn that. It's kind of like the poor kids that have to their parents pay money to send them to fat camp. I mean, you paid the money. You bought the subscription. This is the hard message. You gotta do the work. Sucks, but it just is what it is. I like the idea of these Sunday shows as I'm kind of half just speaking to this level 1 class, sort of as a dovetail to Wookie's nice sugar-coated PMA message is that's all hugs and sunshine. I'll be sort of the more gritty, gnarly jerk in the background. I kind of like that. That actually works well for me. I like that. I have to say, if you're watching TRI for the first time and you're probably a little overwhelmed by this crazy guy, you can be the good cop all the day of the week, Graham. And actually, I was really impressed. You headed on over to Topstep, and you're working with them now. That put a big smile on my face when I heard that. So, the irony of it all is if TRI talks nicely to Topstep, there's probably a lot of cross business that we can do down the road. And if anything, anybody who is a TRIer over at Topstep, just remind Nebraska, Beamish is trying to help you out here and keep sending you all these people. And I love Hogue. I mean, if you have the opportunity, first thing in the morning, TRI Lounge, we have some really cool fucking traders at TRI. And one gentleman, I think it's Daniel, if I'm not mistaken, did just the most beautiful presentation on volume profile and actually more like the DOM and market depth and there's a term I'm looking for, I can't remember. Anyway, point of the matter here is every morning in the lounge they fire in that Topstep sort of meet and greet. Good morning with John Hoagland, and he reviews levels and what he's seeing. And I'd actually encourage TRIers, if you do fancy yourself a day trader, that you just get into the habit of being at that morning meeting with John. He's such a, I mean, you think I've got tenacity. John's been at this probably twice as long as I have. And he still shows up every goddamn morning because we love the market. It's the market that we love. I mean, I love you people dearly, but no offense. I'm not here because of you guys. I'm here because of the market. I love the market. And I love, and actually somebody even made this really cool meme. Maybe we can get an NFT'd one day. Who knows? But I had a line years ago I used to say to people, and I still say this exactly the same thing. Robots are useless to me. You got 100,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, and they're all like your robots, the Doge army or the whatever, is the XRP army, whatever. I mean, it's a bit silly the way that we humans actually kind of like to fall into the robot sort of thinking. And especially if we're blindly following somebody and they're making our account balances go up and, our definition of rich. But no offense, but that's useless to me. I don't want that. I mean, the worst part about capitalism is, it's like Newton's law of gravity. What goes up must come down. And the worst part about it is the reason why our markets are not obeying those natural laws of physics is because our leaders are lying to us. And they're changing the rules of the game as we speak. So it does make it very challenging for us to actually navigate this horrible world where, every single week I tell you the same damn story. So if you haven't, go and watch the Money Masters videos and get to know the fact that there is a part of our society that would prefer that they just sort of skim off the top. And it's a very efficient business model where they just, they take a cut, Sad part about it is in organized crime they call it something else. In modern economic times they call it quote unquote inflation. Sure, okay, that's what you want to call it. Ram it down our throats, fine. I mean, the sad part about governments, I've said it all along. I mean, they're just another form of mafia. And, what happens with IRS or CRA or something like that if you do not pay your taxes? Oh, boy. Let's all, you got to pay the VIG. Or VIC or whatever the hell they call it. Anyway, hopefully what ends up happening here, listening to the old man, is you can break free of the shackles of things like stagnating wages. One might argue that wages and sort of the cost of labor right now, it's a stacked game against the worker. The worker's getting pinched here. So if you just blindly fall into, you come out of high school and you're going to punch a clock at the mill or whatever and just, work your ass off for the man and just collect your paycheck and your pension, it just doesn't cut it in this world. And that's the person who keeps getting screwed over and over and over. Sucks. It's brutal reality. So our job is we got to kind of outpace these people. I mean, that's just the brutal reality of the world that we live in. Is you gotta somehow make the money faster than the tax rate. Sucks. Or you could just give in. And actually, Shane and Andrew and I were kind of joking about it. Canada's almost at the point where basically it has a universal basic income. So you could technically, maybe dude up a really nice camper van that you feel really comfortable living in, and then just go out and be in nature and maybe have strategically planted crops throughout the country. And you just drive around harvesting your crops that are growing in nature, and there's no profit margin or anything. And you just collect your universal basic income. I suppose that's sort of Klaus's kind of world. He would love for humans just to check out like that. The only problem with that is, that's the road that the Soviet Union went down. And it works great if commodity prices are really high. Because you sell your crude oil at bazillions and gazillions of dollars, and you got lots of revenue, and you can pay everybody just to be alcoholics. That's basically how the Soviet Union went. The story was that the spirit of doing anything just died, so everybody just turned to the bottle. Unfortunately, that's like a vicious spiral. You think productivity is bad when you're sober. What's productivity like when you're half in the bag or 3/4? You get Chernobyls. That's what happens. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek. My apologies to the good people of the Ukraine. So, we have an interesting 20, 30 years ahead of us. Probably the biggest thing I really should have learned through my lifetime, and, now I'm in the back half, so I can't really do much about my youth anymore. But and try and, people that are really young right now, you will be old, and try and teach your kids and your grandkids about what these great reset Jupiter-Saturn crosses look like. They're goddamn ugly, aren't they? And especially after it's sort of like this, I think there's one cycle that's like 70, 80 years old. That interest rate cycle, or basically the debasing of whatever the monetary base is, to keep that banker tax going, right? And unfortunately, that started in 1913, and now, unfortunately, this is after the fact, right? It's kind of like I said, standing at the barn doors, asking, "Gee whiz, should we have closed the barn doors? There go the horses." Yeah, there's nothing we can do about it now. And unfortunately, all of us, we're way too small. We're not influential enough to be able to affect change to the system. I'll tell you, one guy that actually probably could have, but man, he just was this Donald Trump guy. I honestly think he could have pulled something off. He could have been an Andrew Jackson, could have been a Lincoln, could have been a Kennedy, but it just didn't work. We'll see. The irony of it all is I don't think the story's over with Mr. Trump. He's back. My hunch is 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to be hearing about more from him. And actually, this would tie in really well. Because the Chinese, they want this whole thing to keep going into the Belt and Road Initiative of 2025. That was their whole sort of master plan. And they're really big on that central planning. If you do not follow the central plan, you will be removed from the equation. But let's say maybe he comes back in 24 and he wins the election at the very end of 24, and it's January 1st, 2025. Remember, China has historically, just even in my adult trading life career, China has used two major sort of catalysts, central planning, this is the event, as pivots. And literally, the moment the pivot happened, the whole market collapsed on the other side of the pivot, which makes perfect sense. That's exactly what should happen. Buy the rumor, sell the news. In fact, level oneers today, you were doing exactly that. So what a coincidence. Wouldn't that be perfect timing? That, people were kind of joking that Mr. Biden actually, I mean, it's shocking. If anything, it's probably good that he has the mask on his face. But gee whiz, he kind of looks like, I mean, this is just me talking. And I'm probably going to get into a bunch of trouble with this. But he actually looks like a man who's actually dying right in front of our faces. It's shocking. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. The poor guy spent his whole life in politics, and it's only at the very end. I mean, talk about, irony, this silly life, right? Spent the whole damn career in politics looking up to whoever's in charge, and right at the very end, he's actually going to probably lose his faculties to be able to be president and do all the things that he really dreamed of doing. So sad, but they always say you can't write stranger fiction than reality. And if this is a total shit show and it turns into Kamala Harris as the vice president and things are still mired in this sort of economic malaise, oh, God. The worst part about it, I was joking with somebody, is I think you could actually find Mr. Trump could be instilled as like a Napoleon. There was a gentleman in Germany that sort of rose democratically to power last century. Let's hope to God these stories don't end as ugly as Napoleon and you-know-who. But, gee whiz, the similarities in the way that these democratically sort of, French Revolution wasn't really democrat. They were trying to get the democracy up and running, and then they resorted to Napoleon. But actually interesting. Maybe that's sort of the same fate, Anyway, who knows? Just Brian blabbing away. Sorry, everybody. Wasted about 5-10 minutes of your time there. Okay, so first, like I said, the purposes of these videos really are to speak to the level oneers. Just see if they have any lingering questions about course material. This week in particular, week 11 of their level 1 program. And like I said, I don't know whether I said it or not, but I'm going to say it again anyway. Grim, the Wookiee, Kevin, Kavarkanator, Joshua, Sharktoshi. I could not put together a better team to guide new people to investing game. I literally could not have put a better team together. That's my honest, wholehearted. Brian doesn't bullshit to you people. There's no reason for Brian to bullshit you. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I want you to make money. I want you to do well. We don't charge a lot of money for this, so it's not like I'm getting fucking rich off of this. My whole purpose was like Joanne's, dream. I told you guys lots about this. Mission accomplished. I mean, mission fucking accomplished. Whether I'm here or not, mission fucking accomplished. And I think Julian as a manager, I think Grim, Shark, and Kevin get along pretty well with sort of, Julian as a manager and sort of, just doing the support. I think Julian's job as a support and customer service and sort of manager, behind the scenes, chief of operations, I think that sets you up really well too. So like the foursome, it's I don't want to shill, and I don't want you to feel like I am shilling. Please don't take this as a shill. But if you want to learn how to do this, and you want to do it right, and you want to do it best practices, this is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I think we're going to update maybe some of the course material that I wrote and some of the videos I did 7 years ago. It's probably about time we update a bit of information there. But on balance, this team is solid. Solid. And then what I found fascinating, didn't expect this at all, but the level 2 program has morphed into fascinating the direction that they've gone, because the level 2 program is really like next level day trader, pit trader, over the top, tools that the pros use, to kill the market. And Kieran, of course, as a professional day trader and just kills the market. And Marat, his right-hand man, I mean, it's just it's poetic. It's beautiful watching the way that this place has evolved. Gotta say, I've been in this business a very, very long time. I've never seen a place like this before. And I don't think you'll see a place like this again. What'll probably end up happening is this place is probably going to build so much inertia that the man is probably going to come along and probably offer just an absolutely obscene amount of money to the management of TRI to just make us go away. That's usually what ends up happening with these kind of operations. Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, the interesting thing is Sjord is so smart. I've shown you pictures of the architect, right? Interestingly enough, and kind of sadly for Sjord's sake, is that he's been distracted by this stupid Beamish guy for like the past 2 or 3 years. We started this crazy project of trying to build this website, and man, it has been a task. But I think on balance, he's pretty much there, where he's got it built. And so really, it's just a question of, please, Sjord, can you just keep this thing going? Because even today, this is Sunday. Little nothing. And I just was like, okay, well, let's take a look. Is there anything worth paying attention to? On my beautiful dashboard that Sjord has built. And what's so cool is, I've got a particular signals page that I've set up with my screeners the way I like to use them. Jesus, it's just a cornucopia of fun ideas to take a look at in here. And, just sort of surfing through, looking at different names. I mean, I could show you a few things that jumped out at me. I mean, the interesting thing is you don't see a key reversal in crypto very often. I was a little surprised to see that the other day. And some great, great signalings. Actually, I wanted to encourage our Aussie audience. I am seeing a lot of key reversals, bullish key reversals in Australia of late. Not quite sure why. But such a powerful tool, just so powerful. Still working on some bugs. I suppose they'll get ironed out over time. But just a message, one way I like to follow the market is using market breadth. And I'm actually finding that this is turning into a pretty darn good tool. That's what she said. I had to throw that in. Brian, terrible. So I like to follow the crypto top 30. And actually, I kind of like this as a nice leading indicator. I've always said I like money. Yeah, I suppose so. I always said that I like using crypto actually as a leading indicator in the risk space. So, And I had sort of postulated, sort of coming out of the end of the week and into the weekend, that it sure looked like we were due for some sort of dead cat bounce. When the moving averages get pretty wide like this, usually there's some sort of check in the fast. And you can really see this little dead cat bounce here in the fast. This is what it looks like, sort of zoomed in under the microscope. And of course, M's and W's. Nothing ever changes in what we do. It's so fucking cool. I mean, it's basically the same thing. So that was a new low. So because it was a new low, it's not really a clean W. We ratcheted back up here. And, you pull up a bunch of different crypto charts. I mean, there's some crypto charts that have just gone nuts. This is a crypto top 30 index, and I'm not actually even sure exactly what's in here and whether this would be the best list to follow. We're still sort of vetting it out, and you can see it has a total of 22 entries, so it's not even 30 names. But I'm just sort of watching this develop, and it's interesting, the information. It's basically what I would have expected. And this will really help us in trying to find those really explosive trades. That German guy, that German guy should subscribe to this tool. Because when you get a W in this and a W corresponding in this coming out of here, that's your timing tool where you go fucking apeshit on YouTube. Ah! And you do your big shills and, buy my referral links and all that crap, But I kind of thought, this is not the context of a new bull run. This is actually kind of dangerous. Definitely due for a dead cat bounce. Like I said, when these moving averages get pretty far apart, at some point along here, you got to be, sort of saying to yourself, you know what, these damn things are pretty far apart. There's going to be a check here at some point. Now, does this check actually turn into a new buy signal, and this sets up a new wave of buying? And we go through another one of those fucking crazy DeFi orgies where guys like Colin are making 100x and Julian and Sjord, like Luna, right? Luna went fucking apeshit through this. And his LTO. I think LTO actually went apeshit through this. So the point here is we're not in that kind of market state right now. And you have to learn. I mean, you want to be professional at this. You've got to learn to respect this shit. So the long and short of it here is I think we're still in cleanup mode. It was interesting, sort of late last week. We did have guys like John Bollinger come out and sort of say, things are looking pretty washed out. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of, trade setups coming in here for those lower time frame players. I'm not going to say that was easy. It set up really ugly, probably because a lot of people were looking for that dead cat bounce, but I think it did come in. I mean, I've been squawking about Geo forever, so it's great to see Geo finally waking up. And you tell me, does this thing have any room to move up here? I mean, just out of curiosity, is there a chance I could make any money here at all? Crazy crypto. Don't be surprised if you see me banging out fucking my average cost on these is maybe about 10-15 cents. So do not be surprised if I'm out there barking that I banged out 100x on this motherfucker. But I love Geo. I've always loved Geo. I never understood why you guys hate Geo. Never understood that. Anyway, they always say, this is a great lesson for you guys. The longer the something, the bigger the something. So you should all know how that finishes. Not quite sure why I went down that angle, but taking a look at the corn, I suppose that's probably what you want to see. Actually, you know what? I don't want to get into this just yet. I do want to look at the level oneers question sheet just to make sure there aren't any lingering questions before we jump into silly market talk. Boom. All right. 28th of March. I think that sounds like about right now. Oh boy, you guys got me busy here today. Oh boy. All right. Well, I'll try my best. I mean, I don't want to go into like teaching a whole damn module, but I'll try my best to answer these questions. All right. So, Brian, you often talk about they, the larger players, institutions, whales, and how they behave in the market, and how if we want to trade, well, we should learn to trade like them. Yeah. But I notice there are ways we do not trade like them due to our relatively small position size. Yeah, that's probably a good example. For example, stuff like stop hunting. One can see this especially in crypto with coins with lower liquidity. Absolutely. Someone with a larger position size can dump their position to create panic and fear. Absolutely. Creating a cascading effect. Sometimes when those whales dump, the coins get instantly bought up by the market and the guy looks like an idiot. So you don't know. I mean, sometimes it works in his favor, sometimes it doesn't. You know, a great example was Mike Hearn Rage Quit. Mike Hearn Rage Quit. Say that 10 times fast. Where he basically sold the bottom of the Bitcoin market in 2014. So, I might argue that the next cycle bottom was marked by a stop out of a guy who was super bearish and kept touting that the market was going to go lower. And in spectacular fashion, he was blown out. So you never know exactly what's going to mark a bottom. Sometimes it's a panic dump, and it can't even be by an insider. And then the market, just like I said, just gobbles that shit up, and there's your bottom, and it never looks back. Other times it can be, we got to get all the kids thinking short, and it's just one big trap. You never know what bottoms really look like. And really, I think whoever asked this question, it's super important for you to understand. My priority is not, repeat, not to get into the business of picking tops and bottoms. Not. Couldn't give a shit. My job is to try and grab that chunk in the middle. That's the most important thing I can try and set myself up to do. I don't need to be a hero to put a bottom in a market. I don't need to be a hero to put a top in a market. What I need is, and especially if you think about the W sort of concepts. I want to buy the break of the middle part of the W, which means that there's those whales and those guys that are screwing and running stops and stuff. They're the ones that put in the pointy parts of the W. I'm coming in after the fact. So try and think of it that way as well. Very curious about this, as it seems like a totally different way of playing the game. Something unethical about it. Who asked this question? Do you have a name? Do you have a... Oh, is this Costco? Is this my Costco regional manager or something? I think they've got a funny guy on the site. He's got Costco wholesale manager or something like that is his name. Maybe that's him. I don't know. Don't kid yourself. Whoever said anything about capitalism and ethics? They don't go hand in hand. The best capitalists are the biggest crooks. I mean, let's face it. Jay Gould, right? You took the level 1 course. Hopefully you heard my rant about Jay Gould. And the guy was a very, very wealthy man. Why? Because he was very good at basically lying to people's faces. So don't kid yourself. There is nothing about capitalism and ethics that are connected. Nothing. But also one we can't play. Something unethical about it, it seems, but also one we can't play. I find the they term curious, as it makes it sound like collusion amongst a select few. Sure, absolutely. It's total collusion in this market. And I think I've sort of ranted about this before as well. Our society... And we all collectively agreed coming out of the 19th century that the word monopoly was horrible. It's the worst. Ah, monopoly. They're all evil. Break them up. Nobody's ever talked about an oligopoly. What the hell is an oligopoly? I don't even think the public even knows what the word is. I would say our society is run by oligarchs. And you've probably heard that term before. Probably sounds a bit familiar. So, and also too, what's worse, oligarchs know how the system works, and they often actually leverage the system to not only protect themselves and their industry and their respective industries, but also across industries, they can cooperate to really, drive economies in one direction or another. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. That is this mafia world that we live in. Kakistocracy. Okay, there's a word. Thank you. Hey, that should be on my toilet paper. Word of the day. The worst part about this, and I don't know whether it's really in your best interest or even my best interest to even get too wrapped up in this conversation. It is what it is. Hopefully our society gets to the point, and think of like the pendulum, it swings back and forth and back and forth. I mean, hopefully our society gets to the point where it's like enough is enough and we move on from this. And I might argue that this current society is still really the end game of the French Revolution, U.S. Revolution, that cycle that started sort of 18th century, somewhere in there, which I think sort of has initiated this modern world that we sort of live in. I actually think it sort of started around then. And I think, sadly, our society has to morph into a new society. And it's probably, the demise of the fiat currency system will probably be one of those stepping stones. As I was sort of joking with a couple guys I had dinner with last night, you can see that this dream of the United States, the Constitution, the Union that Lincoln so desperately tried to hold together, you can see it's on its last legs, in my opinion. And the big thing to undo it was Jekyll Island, which started in 1913. Once that was done, then the independence of the United States of America was compromised. And I don't think the United States of America is very independent, I think the founding fathers originally kind of wanted this idea that the property owners of the country would sort of be the people who ran the country, and that has now shifted to basically the banking class. And I think we all know that. It's no secret. The banking class, especially through Jekyll Island, I mean, it's so perfectly orchestrated. The banking class is now perceived to be independent, and the politicians actually thank the banking class for being independent of politics to keep us on the straight and narrow. What they don't understand is the banking class doesn't give a rat's ass about the capital stock of the country. They only care about profit. That's the only thing that matters to them. So if you have to continually erode the capital base of the country to maintain those profit margins, well, so be it. That's what will happen. And that is what has happened. And the worst part about it is I think the banking class encouraged those that would dissent from that thinking with bullets. Mr. Kennedy tried to take a swing at the idea with his silver dollars and just being issued straight from the U.S. government. And the banking class, I think, they helped him leave this existence. I'm sure they didn't argue when everybody sat around the table and said, okay, all those raise your hand to have this silly little guy knocked off. And everybody around the table raised their hands. Except for Joseph P. Kennedy. His dad sat there just to watch it all fall apart. Anyway, people don't even realize somebody took a poke at Reagan in his early days. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Reagan said, you know what? It's perfectly fine for us to spend more money than we have. Even though, actually, that was the exact moment when the United States did not need to go into a world of deficit spending. And ironically enough, this is the point in the cycle where the United States doesn't need to go into massive deficits and just horrendous new piles of debt, because the economic cycle is actually setting up that growth is about to happen, and it's about to happen big time. So in both situations, the banksters have set it up so that they actually were going to do probably the exact wrong thing economically we should do. That's interesting. What's this? John Hinckley family was friends of the Bushes. Oh. Oh, goodness. I tell you, they called Darth Cheney, Dick Cheney, Darth Cheney. I wonder, after all of the facts come out, it's going to be really interesting to see what side of history the Bushes actually fall on. God, you can't write better fiction than reality, eh? Yeah. I mean, if anything, what we need to do is somehow NFT these video broadcasts so that somehow they survive, so that 100, 200 years ago, there's actually some sort of record of us like here now trying to wrap our heads around the insanity. And, historians 100, 200 years from now will look back and go, oh, these poor citizens, if they only knew. I totally think that's the way it's going to be. But oh well. Okay, so back to our question. I mean, what I see here is you're kind of intermingling the idea that capitalism and ethics go hand in hand. And that's just simply not the case. Grim was even saying in class today, you always should start every single decision with spending money in the marketplace with, I'm chicken shit. These guys are out to steal my money. How the fuck do I get into this thing without, having them steal my money? Maybe I'm not going to leverage trade. That's maybe a little outside my wheelhouse. Maybe I'm not going to buy a derivative that might expire. And it just instantly vanishes. I mean, those are two ways that the 1%, the jerks of the world, steal a lot of money from us, public. Is it collusive? Absolutely. The sad part about cryptocurrencies, you guys just don't understand, is this is an unregulated industry, so it's even more susceptible to this. So don't kid yourself. Goldman Sachs has probably aligned a lot of their sort of corporate profit percentages that they have to hit. I would be willing to bet that if you actually went through the data and actually mined out how much of those profits that they report in their corporate statements, Goldman Sachs, financial advisors, bank, whatever, how much of them were nothing more than stop-loss fuck you moves? My hunch is a very, very big number. Remember, Goldman Sachs themselves were selling collateralized debt obligation instruments to investors. And at the same moment, they were buying put options on those investments they just sold to their clients. That is just the most stunningest conflict of interest possible. And yet nobody got held to account. Not a single fucking person. So that is the world that we live in. Get used to it. That is reality. It is what it is. If anything, what I prefer you guys do is just understand the context of the game that you're playing. Don't kid yourself. I found it amusing that there was a mutual fund manager that was very, very popular, and some of the stocks that she was investing in, they happened to be in the sweet spot of the market and the cycle, and they took off, and so her mutual fund took off. And new people to investing, of course, they chase and they buy the top, and oh my God, this mutual fund manager is just so wonderful. And then the price starts to fall for her fund, and they're like, why is this happening? I thought prices just always go up. Oh, that's Bitcoin. Sorry. So, the irony of it all is he's probably going to sell that mutual fund. To hell with her. I'm going all in on Bitcoin. No, Dogecoin. Doge. What am I talking about? I mean, let's invest in some quality here, right? Where's Shade? Shade always loves it when I mention Doge. So I don't know whether you enjoyed that rant. It looks like you said you appreciate any rant you might have. I use the term they very sort of very loose. It's just a reference. Hell, it could be just one guy. I mean, there was one guy in the 2008 financial crisis that netted over $1 trillion when the market collapsed. $1 trillion. Well, one guy. Talk about a transfer of wealth from the working masses to the 1%. This guy's the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Probably the Royals actually have to look up to him now. So, is it an oligopoly? Could be. I hate to say it, but you guys remember all this sort of hype about ICOs back last cycle. Well, I think DeFi is now basically exactly the same thing. And I've literally, I was given the privilege of just sort of learning and understanding how this sort of venture capital side of crypto works. And I see, basically all the same things are happening. It's the exact same as last cycle. So you want to go and make a shitload of money? See if you can grab some of these new names that are coming down the pike. See if you can even get what do they have, like seed financings and stuff like that. Ride the wave, fucking 100x, whatever the hell, but make damn sure to ring the register. Because my hunch is once the cycle's over, all of those DeFi names will all go right down into the tubes, just like the ICOs, and there'll be tons of congressional investigations and all that kind of wonderful stuff. And we'll take the next couple of years and wash the whole market out and do it all over again. Every 4 years you can pretty much set your watch to this shit. So have fun. Try and, put yourself in their position. It was interesting to see how the stock market kind of topped out there a week or so ago. And we had the volatility index spike down appreciably, which forced Wall Street to get long a ton of VIX. And all of a sudden, mysteriously, the VIX starts rallying out of nowhere. And the stock market starts coming off. And it's sort of like, what a coincidence. I mean, there are tons and tons of tells of them, those guys, the jerks. But that doesn't mean you have to get swept up in their shit. And like I said, if you can think of if we look at a price chart,
Actually, I would just do a drawing. How do I do this? Just find me some sort of blank slate, please. Right, so if you have a W, you could think of this point as in essence the battle lines have been drawn. So you could argue for like lower time frame players, this is going to be a really important level, and this is going to be a really important level. If we're still a bear, well, they're just going to keep punching it lower. But what you might find in a situation like this is, maybe this is a pretty important level, but, maybe we haven't quite W'd yet. So, boom, there is your FU move. Oh, Brian, you jerk. And then the market comes up, and maybe W's then. And we have sort of slow pokes in the market. This is actually the point that I want to get interested in. I'm going to actually try and let the FU sort of, this is that part where I don't really want to get too wrapped up in the equation. What I really want to see is I want to see this war happen, and I want to see that the bulls have resolved the war. So now when I look at this, I've got like this was a battle zone, and the market is leaving the battle zone with the bulls won. And, we have a really simple concept that we, a number of students have really embraced it. They've taken it to the next level. But this idea that, ironically enough, the absolute best trade entry is actually on the move after this has been confirmed, whatever the pullback is, to try and really hunt here. Maybe it comes all the way back down in W's like that. Very natural. Yeah, maybe the W comes in a little higher and it's like a Wyckoff check. Perfect Wyckoff check. You don't know. Maybe it comes in a little bit lower, like, all the way down against these lows. But what we're kind of doing, looking for this, right? And of course, level 1, we want to teach you things like reload zones. Ideally, the best trade location. Yeah, right down in here, right? I mean, ideally, I love when bottoms come in off 78.6s, but that's just me. I'm a weirdo that way. Wherever it comes in. What we're really asking here is, we had a big war and the bulls won. And we're not going to get too involved in this stuff. But if we get that pullback, and like this is Kavark. I think I showed you on Bitcoin. Or maybe it was one of the cryptocurrencies. A year or two ago, the bottom came right off of an 88.6 tag of a previous W. It's just sick level. And, TRIOGers like good old Kavarkinator totally nailed it. Way to go, Kavark. You're awesome. But really what I'm thinking here is the war's already been fought. And this is kind of like the throwback here. And ideally, the best scenario here is the throwback is not really a big piling on of new selling volume. It actually comes in on very light volume. It's sort of like the war was fought, the battle was fought, the winners won, but they're kind of exhausted now, and everybody's just sort of like, okay, everybody just calm down, right? Okay. And then, if the bulls start to show up here, I mean, this is the absolute best. Now, what does this really mean? I mean, and like I said, this could come in a little bit lower. It might come in down here. Hell, it might come in all the way down here. But what this really means now is, we had the battle, the bulls won, then the pullback, and now we got another little battle, and gee whiz, the bulls won again. This is like W's within W's kind of idea. And actually, I'd really love to get David O. and his presentations on the site. But he's just done a ton of work with market in transitions. What do they look like? Right? Do they, 9 times out of 10, they kind of look like a triangle. And you might argue that a lot of our triangles are actually nothing more than W's within W's, and then that W within a W within a W. And if it does, maybe come up here, maybe play around, then go break out, really that's a W within a W within a W within a W. And the bullish resolution, the war has been fought and the bulls have won. And I don't really want to get into the business of picking the bottom. In this particular case, if the range is big enough, maybe, you see the way these silly cryptocurrencies, just even like Bitcoin. You might even argue that this is exactly what the bottom in Bitcoin looked like. Let's go take a look. Yeah, see, that's right through here. So the market comes down. It's sort of fight. Remember tone phase? It's going to, remember the hyperwave guys? It's going to zero or no, what, $1,000 or whatever. And fight. Now, I don't want to get wrapped up in that shit. I really don't. But I remember when it happened. Actually, it was interesting. An old site member, Da Vinci, and we actually did a video of crypto through this. And what was fascinating was it was just sort of the hardcore people that were still left. Nobody was asking, what's a Bitcoin or who's Satoshi, that was still watching down here. It was just hardcore Bitcoiners. But the point here is kind of like what I just showed there a moment ago. Big down, up, and then down. And then notice, look what happened right down here at the bottom of the pattern. Gee whiz, that kind of looks like a W. And then, kind of like what we said there a moment ago, triangles within triangles within triangles. You can get wrapped up in this sort of bottom picking. Is this the bottom? Whatever. But really what I want you to see, and this is what you really sort of need to learn here, is that when this event happened, right through there, something changed about trend here. Now, the W's are in, W's within W's within W's, big honking W's. Even if you just went and bought some here, maybe you got a crappy fill, you got filled right there. Boom! Horrible fill, you cocksuckers. I don't know, look at it from today's perspective. Would you really be that verklempt? If you just said, you know what, I'm not going to get into the business of putting in bottoms. I'm not going to get into the business of calling bottoms. I'm just going to simply let the W's come in, and I'm going to try and buy that chunk in the middle. And I'd say you got a pretty damn big chunk out of that. I don't know whether you're still long that same trade, but you see what I mean? Hopefully you see what I mean. It's not really in our best interest to fight the fight at the very top or the very bottom. It's actually in our best interest to let other people fight that fight. And there's, like as a further testament to the pullback, this is just insane. And if you can somehow teach yourself this, awesome. And as I said, we got Kavark, and we got Sharktoshi, and we got Graham, and we've got Julian in support. This is a fantastic team to teach you how to do this. And Kavarkinator, he did this trade. And what a fucking rock star. That's crazy. How do you think Kavark's feeling? I don't know whether he's here right now or not. That's his trade right there. What do you think? That's a pretty fucking good trade. You want to learn how to do that? Join Kavark and Josh and Joshua. And Josh is actually going to be too busy being my ghostwriter, so you won't get to hang out with him. Joshua, Sharktoshi. Actually, we could probably show some awesome Sharktoshi trades. It's just this one, it resonated with me so perfectly because it was so Kevin. And he is such a good trader that it just made sense that Kevin would do that. And it's a beautiful testament to, you want to come and learn how to trade at TRI and be like Kevin? Fucking A, man. You're going to make a lot of money in this world. I don't know. I hope that helps answer the question. What was the question again? I can't even remember. Talk about rants, eh? What are you guys enjoying rants? Nobody? Am I having fun? Yeah, so they is Kevin. That's good. I like that, Josh. You might as well just put in Quark. The Quark. I don't know how we morph that. Quark they? Quark A? I don't know. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. Hopefully I helped a little bit with some thought there. Yeah, the whole fucking game is rigged. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I'm chicken shit. I approach every single trade like these cocksuckers are trying to steal my money. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. Alright, that makes that easy. Okay, how did trade invest during bear market? Short, hedge, no trade, value pick. Can you make some example? How did you handle your crypto portfolio on 2018 bear market? Alessandro. Actually, you know what I did? Was I just went into sort of little old lady nanny nibbling mode for the next, literally next year or two. Because keep in mind, the prices of these altcoins came down very, very fast. So, one of my favorite coins right now, I don't know whether I have the actual trades marked. Well, Sis is a good example. So, I was, look how quickly it came. I mean, obviously I can't buy there. And, almost every single one is exactly the same. But you can see by February 2018, we had already come back down to 61.8. 78.6, 88.6 in this particular case. And, if you want to learn this, you want to get good at this, you have to understand venture capital often retraces almost all of its previous move. I mean, just ask yourself. And this is what pisses me off about this space, is that it's like people just throw logic right out the window. But, let's say you came along and bought this asset right here. I mean, who can tell me what is the average normal annualized rate of return for equity investing? Capital gains plus dividends. And keep in mind, equity investing is the risk part of investing. Bond investing, that's the conservative part, guaranteed investment. Cash, theoretically, should be stable. But, of course, our wonderful banking sector is fucking us over there. So Ray Zah says here between 11 and 15%. Ray, I'll buy your newsletter, Ray, if you can really do that over a historic period. The average rate of return sort of expected in a lot of portfolio models is 11%. 8% capital gains, 3% dividends. That's sort of what they shoot for. That's sort of like benchmark. Ray will give you 15, so that's actually pretty good, Ray. Thank you. Can I lock that in now, please? Just kidding. Love you, babe. Ray's gonna get so fucking rich, man. He's already built out the code and the scripting for all the WDB models. So now, literally, he's already got everything in place where he can have the market actually pay him an income to take positions in stocks. And oh, by the way, when he does, the goddamn stocks go fucking apeshit. I think that's it. Colin, he loves his ape in expression. I think I'm going to call it the Ray in. Because holy shit, whenever Ray says something's a buy, look out. The damn thing's going to go nuts. I tell you, this DRISOF group, these OGs that have taken all the education program with me and that really put their nose to the grindstone, do really good research. These people are fucking brilliant. And they're gonna just be stinking rich. Because we're finally back in the growth cycle. What's ironic is you guys don't understand the past 20 years, this has been the shitty part of the cycle. Now we're finally back into the time, hey, we can actually think about making some money. So anyway, so the point of the matter here of all this was, let's say you bought it here. I mean, annual rate of return of 11% on 12 cents. We're talking, it's not much. It's like maybe, let's be generous, right? This is a shit coin, so, we're going to be really generous with the rate of return. We're going to give you a 50% rate of return. That is going from here to here. That is actually that's ridiculously huge rate of return. So, is it realistic to to expect that the market is going to hold on to this kind of gain? That's like 10x. And is it realistic that you're going to see another 10x and then another 10x? And then, no, it's not. If anything, after you see the 10x, or maybe it goes to 50x, kind of like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's about 20x off its lows. You gotta be going like, am I walking into a trap here? Because usually the other side of these insane moves, this is not sustainable. I mean, you think about it, at 11% rate of return, how many years of price action do you have to justify this increase? I don't know. How far out do you have to go on the calendar here to just get that 11% annualized rate of return of risk assets in the marketplace to justify this? And the answer, of course, is that this isn't the way these kind of assets work. What they work on is, we're going to reinvent the wheel. And you get this insane price change. Now, how often do these things actually reinvent the wheel? Not that often. I mean, every once in a while you get one that hits, and fucking A, man, it goes up and it never looks back, and you love those. Those are awesome. It doesn't always work that way. Most times it looks like this. And even, your beloved Bitcoin, Ethereum, it looks the same way generally. Now, with this guy, like I said, super insane speculative part, and 6 months ago, this would have been called a shit coin. It's garbage. It's the past. It's not worth even looking at. You go and buy your Bitcoins, and that's the end of the conversation. The irony of it all is, when you hear that kind of conversation coming out of the Bitcoin maximalists, that's the time when you actually have to seriously look at the shit coins and say, the sentiment is shit coins are shit and you just can't buy. You're going to lose money. Now, if that's the public sentiment, how often does the public lose money when they invest? Is the public institutional type player? How often do institutional type players make money? What kind of market state does an institutional player actually buy? What kind of market state does a public usually buy? And that's the most important thing you have to understand here. So, I don't know if you can do it or not. I don't know. But coming in after everything's washed out, the longer the something, the bigger the something. You've heard me say that 100 times. This is how you make your fortunes in capitalism. It's just that simple. And like I said, Kavarkinator, just a total boss Bitcoin trader. That's the same damn image. It's the same image. People hate me in crypto because, I don't mean to be rude, but there's no difference between Bitcoin or Ethereum or Zen or Loom or CVC or KMD or Waves. Well, it's Russian. OXT. I mean, there's not, to me, in my eyes, they're just another asset. And they will have their respective day in the sun. If they have a half-decent fundamental story and you can buy, quote-unquote, add value. This is a venture capital space, which means that price volatility is very, very high. And I don't mean to be rude, but that is the definition of venture capital. That is the definition of very intense price volatility. That is crypto. Get used to it. Actually, interesting. Crypto is trying to evolve into a new form. But what I find fascinating is I sat and watched, and actually I got into a lot of trouble on social media for criticizing people coming in and buying the 2017 bull run there, and calling them colorful names, which got me into a lot of hot water. Yeah, that's the way it goes. I see exactly the same environment, identical. So, as I said before, and the worst part about it is you just don't know where the fuck the top is with Bitcoin. I mean, where's April of 2017? I mean, what I would say, ironically enough, is this probably isn't a bad sort of reference framework. And where is April? Like, here is March, April. I mean, fuck me. At 50 grand, 60 grand, is this us right now here? And we have to go through a normal seasonal correction and, back to check moving averages. But once that seasonal correction is done, holy bejesus, look out. I mean, could that be our future as we work our way through what the fuck is the US dollar even worth? I'm not going to say that can't happen. The darker the meat, the sweeter the juice. All right. There's an interesting addition. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think probably the most important thing you have to learn if you fancy yourself a trader is, for God's sakes, just don't chase. You have to teach yourself, I'm not allowed to buy when the market looks like that. I'm not allowed to buy when the market looks like that. I'm not allowed to buy when the market looks like that. I'm not allowed to buy when the market looks like that. I mean, if you want to draw trend lines and just say, look, I have to wait for whatever the hell this trend line is to be broken before I can come back in. Okay. Sometimes that's going to work really, really well, like in here. Right? You avoided all of this and you snuck in here, and nice trade. This one's not so bad. It would add you basically buying at the same levels. Maybe you could sneak in here. Tough to say. And actually, this is a good trading system, in my opinion, where you have rules that sort of prevent you to come in when the market's face ripping. But the interesting thing is the market may actually have you actually go long when the technical picture is much more attractive at basically the same level as the face rip. But in this situation, when you buy, oh, fuck me. In this situation, when you buy, actually, didn't have to go through too much pain. In fact, you really were awesome at your market timing. It was just straight up. So half of what I'm trying to do here with you guys is just try and help you avoid the heartache of this. This is painful. And you know what ends up happening through this? Lawsuits, and ugly ones. So if I just say, look, you're not allowed to buy here, and then you come back and show me later on that you did buy in here, well, I can stand in front of a judge and say, look, I clearly told him not to buy here, and he did, so I should be off the hook. And the judge says, whatever, Brian, give him his money back. That's, for whatever it's worth, that's how the classic stock market brokerage sort of model went. Then along came the internet, and everything has changed, and nobody is held to account for anything these days, which is shocking. Anyway, crazy world. Okay, I don't have no idea how we're doing on these questions. So I think I told you, and I started off with that CIS. Actually, what I would do through bear market is just throw myself on any nibble program. I'm allowed to buy names that I like at or below reload zones, not in a hurry to sell, and I'm accumulating. And in fact, there's a coin, I've told you guys recently about Geo. I absolutely love this coin. And this is exactly that same story, where market went absolutely nuts. 2018, everything calmed down, and you can see I've actually been buying away, and I'm still trying to buy some more, but these bastards look like they're going to leave me behind now. But I would be more than happy to buy more of this. But I was buying, and I'll buy more. And that was sort of like at the end of 2019. All right, take it easy, Grim. Hope you enjoyed my comic stylings. So to answer your question, Nanny Nibbles, I go into sort of, I'm not really in a hurry to see price appreciation. I'm just accumulating cheap assets. At the same time, too, actually, when you go into a broader market, bear market, that's actually when it's a lot of fun to practice things like opening range trades on the ES futures over a topstep, or trading bot setups. And, maybe they're bullish bots, maybe they're bearish bots. In 2018, we had a TRI meetup in the middle of the summer. And actually, there was a really cool Bitcoin long trade that almost everybody at the meetup took. So, of course, while we're having the meetup, we have a big circle jerk about how wonderful traders we all are, because we all made money while we're sitting there getting drunk in Vancouver, trading what turned out, I think, to be actually a pretty simple setup. Let's see, I think it was right in here. Yeah, this move right up in here. So, actually, maybe it was, no, yeah, actually it was right there. That's the setup. So this was in the context of a broader bear market down. And actually there were a lot of TRIers that did very, very well through that rally. Then we topped out, and we topped out at a very reasonable level. Good old mountain man, doink. I mean, very cliche. We started to work our way lower, and as I said, through that summer meetup, there was a lot of TRIers at the meetup that took this long setup right there. Risked against that low, and they were all happy. We were all drunk in Vancouver, and hey, look how smart we are. We're awesome. So that's the funny thing, and it used to drive me crazy. I used to work with this guy. I just made reference to him, Mountain Man Brandon, in the futures industry, trading crude oil a million years ago. That's his level, and he would always have a trade on the tag at 61.8. So that's why I teach you guys about Mountain Man. Come on, you. There we go. But this guy used to drive me crazy. So this guy, we could be in a day where crude oil would be down like $2 on the day. And yet Brandon's up like, I don't know, $1,200 being long only. And you're like, well, crude was down $2 on the day. How the hell did you do that? And of course, he was in there, let's say the market dumped into a 61.8, he'd buy that, and maybe the crude was down $3 at that point, and then he would liquidate on the dead cat bounce. So, even in the context of bear markets, there's still lots of trading opportunities. And like I said, this was a great example where you could see this was right in the face of big fat M, but hey, this setup is a long setup, and there were a lot of TRIers that took that trade and did very well. So, probably this is going to be, I've got, X capital. I'm looking for, reload zones of previous ranges. That's why we would get excited, candle body lows for trade location, that kind of thing. Maybe you're hunting like empires here, and you're saying, well, it's probably good. In fact, actually, Bitcoin just did this over the weekend. Yeah, look at that. So it's perfect mountain man tag going the other direction. So, what's the risk reward? And the irony of it all is you might have just done this one trade the entire 2018. This was the only trade that you did. I don't know if this was 2018 or not. Produces a 3-to-1 risk reward. I mean, you look like a fucking genius. Actually, I guess this was 2019, eh? Where's 2018? That was our TRI meetup in Vancouver. I was in Europe here through this market. I suppose, this is actually, I'm Brian. I am a long only kind of guy or girl. Actually, well, let's go this way. There, boom, boom. I usually recommend that people use the 50% rule as a profit objective. Maybe you were hunting longs through this. There's nice little railroad tracks there. Looking for a tag of 50% rule. And all that is you're just playing the dead cat bounce. So that is a long trade. I suppose there's another one here. Big W, reload zone against railroad tracks. Little doji. Nice little consolidation zone in there. Set up that rally, and probably the hunch is that that's a 50% retracement too. Yep. So, even in the context of bear markets, look at this little W. Fuck me, look at that one. This is the kind of market, like you're in a bear market and the market goes down and puts in this tight little bottom, right? This is where that German guy goes fucking crazy. It's a new bull market. It's a new bull market. Well, maybe. It's probably just a dead cat bounce into a very technically reasonable level. And then the market rolls over. Could you have bought this little double bottom here and risked against these lows and used the 50% rule as your objective? What's that? 2.5 risk reward. Pretty normal. So even in the context of a broader bear market, I would suggest, though, if crypto does go into a bear market, maybe lighten up on the long ideas in the altcoins, because usually when Bitcoin is bearish, the altcoins, they just crater and they're just traps everywhere. If anything, what you really want right now, and this is actually what I think is going to happen, but who knows? It's just an opinion. What you as cryptocurrency enthusiasts would really like to see is over the next 6 months, we just park ourselves in this massive trading range. And that will give all of these kind of ideas time to really come to fruition. Believe it or not, this kind of name, I don't see any reason why this can't trade up against those old highs. Seems perfectly logical to me. And there's tons of these altcoins that are doing this right now. Tons of them. So to me, that's kind of what I'm seeing going on here. And some people a week or two ago were kind of touting, oh my God, you're going to get rich, buy your Bitcoins kind of stuff. And they actually miss these insane percentage moves. I mean, somebody was joking on social media, and frankly speaking, I think it's a perfectly valid point. I can't remember where the latest Bitcoin tout was in here, but the price really hasn't moved a hell of a lot. Let's say you were just an absolute trading god and you bought there on February 28th, the last day of February there. And you bought at 43, and here we are at 55. So you're up 12. So that's what, 20-25% return? Not bad. But I don't know. How would you have done had you bought the end of February on something like Sjord's name? That's $4.80, and it ran up to a high of $23. So do you see the difference? Like, that's really the context of what's going on here. You can try and milk more out of the Bitcoin story, but this is where I think the money's going to be made. And, you got to pay attention to guys like Colin. Because Colin's sort of like on the inside beat of crypto now. I think he's made friends with a lot of very powerful insiders. So if you want to, like, what's his expression? You want to ape in. I think that's the expression that they use, ape in. These guys are pros. In fact, I'd love to be able to buy an option on Colin. He is going to be just astoundingly wealthy. But those are the kind of groups that are very, very smart. I don't get the impression Colin's a massive hype. I don't get that. I think there is, with all of us TRIers, I try to, if anything, working with me for good 3 terms and stuff, I try and do the whole PMA angle, and we're nice, polite Canadians. I'm worried that some of our community does go the gold chains route, and any longtime members of TRI will know that reference. So fingers crossed for Colin. Don't go the gold chains route, please, Colin. For Uncle Brian. Man, I would strongly suggest you follow his lead. Very, very smart guy. Also, too, I mean, what I find so cool is, of course, Fjord's building this magic engine that's going to take over the world here. I think I was talking to you guys about this. I mean, the breadth indicator actually pretty much told us that, dead cat bounce. We actually made a new low here. I don't know whether I talked to you guys about this yet today or not. Maybe I did, but I guess we should get back to the questions. Jesus, this is terrible. I'm really bad at this. Okay, so hopefully that helps you. And also, too, Alessandra, I would also say is that I'm not just in crypto. So there's a lot of different assets that I trade. I'll buy call options, put options. I'll trade currencies. I'll trade crude oil. I'll trade gold. I don't care. Whatever I see W's coming in, that's what I want to buy. So that's generally my approach. And there we always say there's always a bull somewhere. If I wanted to force the case with like Bitcoin, I showed you just even in both of those bear markets, there were long setups. And I remember when I first came into crypto, one of the best long trades of 2014 was right on the event of China banning crypto. Market bottoms, jumps up into Tim Draper's overpriced buy of the first U.S. Marshal Office's auctions of Bitcoins. And the irony of it all is once that happened, then the market topped out and it just cranked down into the my current rage quit. Anyway. Okay, so moving forward. Could you please explain what run 3 cars means and how it works from LOL strategy presentation? All right, so the term cars, it comes from my futures trading day, where a futures contract like crude oil, for example, it's on 1,000 barrels of crude oil. So it's like a vehicle. I mean, it's a big honking thing, and you can't break it apart. I mean, it's 1,000 barrels of crude oil. It's a contract. So the way we sort of colorfully sort of described it back eons ago was that this was a vehicle. You're going to get into the vehicle, and you're going to use the vehicle to make you money. If you think the market's going to go up, you're going to buy the vehicle, and it's going to move in very vehicular fashion. And then you're going to get out. You're going to hop off the vehicle, and the difference in price, theoretically, is your profit. Or it could be your loss. But think of the contract as a car or a vehicle. And ideally, the really good trader sort of, I'm just going to sort of BS this, but the good trader simply wants to buy the vehicle, then hop off the vehicle, then buy the vehicle, then hop off, then buy it, then hop off, then buy it, then hop off, then buy it, hop off, buy it, hop off, buy it, hop. That's a trader's life. You're getting in and out of the vehicle. One sort of adaptation that I've sort of put into my trading is I like site members to think of trades as cars. Like our rule is don't put more than 5% of your portfolio into any one name. So technically that means you fully loaded up, you have 20 cars on the books. I wouldn't recommend fully loading up. Usually I like to have like 10 cars, maybe 50% invested at most. Maybe I'll go up as high as 60, 70% if we're in like seasonally an appropriate window and the market's rocking and rolling. I don't ever like to be 100% invested. That leaves me very uncomfortable. But think of those cars as vehicles. And the good part about these vehicles in the stock market and in crypto, I suppose, is if the price of the asset actually doubles. This isn't volatile enough, so I can't use that. We'll use this guy here. So if the, let's say I strapped on a car right here, boom, on the W, right? So that's at 4.2, so 0, 4, 2. I can actually go into the marketplace and I can sell half of the car at, say, 8.6, which really isn't that far, is it? So I bought at 0.042, and now I can actually take a saw and cut my car in half and literally just give half of the car to the marketplace at double this price, so at 8.4 or better. And technically, I get all my original money that I invested in this first car, I get it back. So I've got a half a car still on the books, and I've got, at this point, and I've got all my original money back in my hands. So market shoots up and then starts to come back down, and it starts to do this kind of behavior. So remember, I still have this car, that half car, but now here I can take that original money that I took out of the market by selling half of this car at double the purchase price. I can take and I can go and put on another car right here, say off of that W. Maybe we'll color this car yellow. So we got one car, and it's a half a car. That's red, and we now have one full car that's long from here. So this is 0.047, so same logic. If I see a move above, what, 9.5, we'll say, then I'll sell half of this car and get my original money back. So now at this point, I bought, sold half, got a free position, a car. It's a half a car, but what the hell. Took my original, let the market settle back down, took my original money that I got out, and I strapped on another car. Boom, out goes half. So now technically I have one car operating here and another car operating here, and I have all my original money back in my pocket. These two positions, they could go to zero. Wouldn't make a difference to me. They could go to the moon. Awesome. Go buy islands with it down the road. But there's an example where I now have a car carrier. I have my original money back in my pocket. Bought, sold half on a double. Bought, sold half on a double. I got all my original money back in my hands. Now I can go shopping for a third car if I wanted to. So hopefully that helps explain that. There's video. I think it's basically probably exactly the same thing I told you in the video. Okay, why do you think the institutions are buying Bitcoin at these prices, considering the fact that cost of production is around 9,000? Jesus, it worked its way up to 9 Gs now? Do you think these theses that Bitcoin is a better monetary system than fiat will play out in the next years to come? If that's the case, do you think the cycle will be different than the ones that have happened before, aka super cycle? Or this is just a game to make public believe this is different? I just don't see how it is different than the current system, considering the fact that the majority of the Bitcoins are being held in small number of wallets. It is almost like once people like Raoul Pal and Michael Saylor goes out and says, I am putting 90% of my wealth into Bitcoin, they are just trying others to join them to make more money. It is almost like impossible for them to talk about Bitcoin because if shit hits the fan, they would lose all their wealth. Oh my goodness, it goes on. Is this a different person? Okay. Hopefully it's a different person. Okay.
looks like it.
Okay, so simple answer here as best as I can. Nobody knows what the fuck the future's gonna hold. I mean, nobody. So, is it in your best interest to go all in and predict the future and this is what's going to happen and, come hell or high water, live with the consequences? I don't think so. Will there be people who will make foolish all-in bets and the price works and they become, historically famous for the call? Yeah, that will happen. Will the majority be able to do that trade? I doubt it. Probably by the time the majority comes in, you're probably too late. Bugra, and you've been working with me for a while, Bugra, as I've already shown you at least a couple times here in this video here today, I think that the level to be invested in Bitcoin and to buy Bitcoin has been established, and the market has run up appreciably from those levels. So really what we have to do as just good technicians and say, well, I can't chase. Don't chase. It's kind of like that Kathy Woods kind of conversation and that poor guy with his little tech mutual fund. I mean, Bitcoin will go through its bull and bear cycles. Will the institutions make money from their investments? Well, who knows? That's up to them. Are they acting in institutional fashion, buying this market up top here? No. But remember, a lot of these quote-unquote institutions that do things like run funds that do nothing more than just sort of replicate the price of Bitcoin, well, their job's not really to call tops or bottoms. Their job is to be invested. So if Bitcoin goes up, hey, they look great. If Bitcoin goes down, they look foolish. But it's not really their job to outperform. Their job is just to be invested. All right, take it easy, Josh. So, I guess the question in 1980. Well, a lot of people came in and bought gold at $800 an ounce. $700 an ounce, all that area. So, I remember I used to prospect a guy in the 90s when gold was $200-300 an ounce, and he said, Brian, I bought my gold in 1979 at $700 an ounce, and I ain't selling till I see that price again. Could there be a bunch of people that are holding Bitcoin long from 30, 40, 50 grand? And we see exactly the same story? Sure, why not? And it's not really out of the question. Frankly speaking, when it comes to value, I like that story. What I do see here, though, is that we are, when you're going through these horrible catalysts, man, life is tough. I mean, it's challenging to keep your head on straight through these things. There's no doubt about it. Imagine if you were living in Myanmar right now. Oh boy, that's a tough time. Imagine if you were living in Germany in the 1930s. Ay, that was stressful. Ironically enough, that my feeling, and this is what I'm really worried about, is that something like asset prices is probably the least of our concerns right now. I like the idea that the institutional players took the opportunity to ramp these risk prices and these risk assets up so that if there is another catastrophe, we don't really make precipitously lower lows. I do like the idea that there is another horrendous market drubbing coming here. I think it probably happens this fall. And it will be that fall correction that kicks the shit out of things like commodity markets. That's my impression, and that sort of will be the catalyst to mark our move out of the commodity bull market and into this new sort of growth phase of the economy. When the bottom came in March of '82. And in the interest rate market, our funny little cycle guy says that the next major market bottom should be 2023. So I like the idea. Crypto is gonna just continue doing its nutso-ness while the adults are distracted with COVID. As soon as COVID it feels as though the adults have got a grip on it, then I think they're going to come after this DeFi space with a ton of bricks. So, just like you saw in 17 with the ICO market, exactly the same. My advice to you, do not apply your personal name to any DeFi project. Just don't do it. You don't want to be the next Steven Seagal. You don't want to be Floyd Mayweather. Do you guys want to be Floyd Mayweather? Don't associate your personal name. That's so funny that, Elon Musk's love affair for Doge and Bitcoin might ultimately be his undoing. He takes awfully big risks with these things. You never know. Anyway, hopefully that helps answer that question. I mean, there's a ton of sort of moving parts here, eh, dude? What I would simply say with Bitcoin, it's so fucking easy, is you probably just want to set your alarm clock for about a year to 6 months before the next halving window. It's just that simple. Yeah, who knows? So when's the next halving event? I can tell you when next time I probably want to buy some Bitcoin. It's actually stunningly cliche, guys. I hate to say it. So, the problem here too, though, is what's the Fugazi dollar nonsense angle in this? I mean, if they go and dilute the currency and there's a massive run on dollars and a total lack of confidence in the Fed and the whole system starts melting down, what is the average cost to mine one Bitcoin? Does that number get totally thrown out of whack? I mean, the irony of it all is there's one guy, and I think that's who you're kind of referring to, Sailor guy, who publicly said my average cost of Bitcoins is $25,000. Maybe they just dilute the shit out of this damn currency to the point where at the next halving event, all things being equal, cost of production is $25,000. That wouldn't surprise me. But when it comes to timing purchases for Bitcoin, I love that idea of about 6 months or so before the halving event, you get just the absolute perfect buying windows. Anyway, that's my impression there. And here we are. I was even looking at price versus cost of production. The interesting thing is the S17s and the S19s are not even really moving much here, right? I mean, the logical thing to me would seem to get yourself a few ASICs miners and get in there into the fucking business of mining this stuff. This is ridiculous. So that would be my preferred angle, is why don't we all just go into the business and mine Bitcoins? Fuck buying them in the marketplace. I want to mine them and sell them into these inflated prices. Doesn't that make sense, Bugra? That's what I mean, if you're a smart businessman, come on. It's just logic 101. But I get the impression that there's such a demand for microchips right now that, cars trying to, go electric and, I'm hearing out of the auto industry, they just can't get enough microchips right now. So in a certain way, you might actually find, and Intel's really been on the outs. Intel's really got to get its act together. But if anything, and what I'm hearing is there's a supply shortage of microchips to build things like ASIC miners. Maybe over the next few years we have new competitors come into the space. They start flooding the market with these graphics cards and ASICs cards and stuff just specifically for mining Bitcoin, and that in itself meets the demand for guys like Brian who are like, fuck, why don't we just go into the business and mine this shit? Also, too, I'm curious about this whole bridging. Because once the bridging happens, then you could technically go in, mine the shit out of a coin like Ubic, which is really cheap right now, and yet still do everything you want with crypto through their bridging facility. So if that kicks in, I think that's going to be another sort of shitcoins can, sort of adjust in price back to sort of this bull market kind of thinking. And things like Ethereum and stuff, they've got such a high cost. Somebody even said, hey, Brian, you want to do that NFT thing? It's going to cost you about $100 each. And I was like, $100? Fuck me. So I don't want to blow $100 to make myself infamous. If you want to do it, fine, go ahead, but I'm not going to do it. I'm a cheap ass, right? So is there ways to sort of bring down the price of Ethereum just simply through competition? Through, hey, this is a better alternative. Yeah, there you go, Goofass. So Goofass already basically got his levels. And, Goofass, you tell me when the next halvening event is. So let's back the calendar up about 6 months prior to that. And that's pretty much, you've got the level, I've got the time window. Let's make a date. Where should we meet? We want to meet on the, I'm feeling like I want to meet on Mercury's moon. I think actually Mercury has a moon. So in S19s right now, somebody says they're going for about 20 G's a piece. There you go. Mind you, you'd probably break even, right? So you pay 20 G's and then your cost is 5 or 6 G's. So there's still like a 50% profit margin. That's not bad. I mean, I'm not going to dump 25 fucking grand, but I would imagine a lot of people would. If I'm too cheap to spend $100, do you think I'm going to blow 25 fucking grand on something? Yeah. Okay, so I hope that kind of talked to your question. Yeah, could be, Bugra, could be. Okay, before TRI level 1, my long-term 15-year plus plan was every month DCA dollar cost average, ETFs, and some tech stocks regardless of the market situation. Now, after the knowledge from level 1, I am uncomfortable seeing the market tops. I am buying. I am still a little lost on what to do in this long-term investment area. I am not seeking financial advice, but would like to hear your financial advice. Sorry. I am not seeking financial advice, but I'd like to hear your perspective. Oh, okay, my perspective on long-term investing. Do you constantly trade your whole portfolio? Do you accumulate some stocks and hold long-term positions? What to do if I am interested in some growth stocks that don't seem to stop making higher highs? Thanks for everything, Brian. Another person. Okay, so first and foremost, I think it's a good idea, especially for like retirement plans and stuff. Don't change anything. It's kind of like, why do you have a mortgage? I actually like a mortgage on your house because it's a forced savings plan. You force yourself to do it. So I like the idea, here in Canada, we're incentivized to save for our retirement. You got a bit of a tax deduction. I like that thinking. Or you just force yourself, I am going to make the contribution. Then that way, come retirement, you look back and you go, phew, thank God I did that. Because I'll tell you, too many people I know, they get to retirement and they go, oh, fuck. Now, what you do with those assets that you're saving for retirement, saving for long term, oh, it's a tough one. Problem here is I don't know what kind of education skill. Like if you're in the level 1 course, you're just learning. You're just starting out. will you, I mean, maybe ask yourself, Brian, if this is you, if that's your name, maybe ask yourself, did you have the balls to step in last March when the sky was falling and equity prices were collapsing? Did you have the balls to step into that and actually be a buyer? If you did, and you were like, well, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I just have a simple rule: when I see everybody else freaking out around me, that's when I actually go and start spending money in the marketplace. It's not a bad strategy. You could have done that last March and bought the Canadian stock market at exactly the same level as it was in 2000. So basically saved yourself 20 years of capital appreciation. I mean, that's remarkable, eh? But that's a pretty damn big if. I'm not going to say that's an easy if. If you sit there and go, yeah, that's a bit advanced, Brian, I don't know whether I have the balls to do that, then I think the strategy of dollar cost averaging and continuing with just, every month you're going to buy a little bit of equity, a little bit of fixed income, maybe a little bit of short term, T-bill, something like that. And you're just dollar cost averaging your way into the market, and you know that the assets are being put to good use. Do I do that strategy? Well, how long have I been in this business? Because we have this gift of being able to step into markets when everybody else is freaking out and then, take advantage. But also, too, most people don't realize that asset prices like Bitcoin, 3,000 to 60 G's here, most people don't realize that you can have just absolutely insane price movement. So what ends up happening is a lot of people sort of say, in my opinion, this market has topped and I am going to sell everything and take profits. Look how smart I am. And then the goddamn market goes on another 10x from there. And it happens to me. So I'm not going to say I'm like immune. It happens to me. But on balance, I really try to force myself. If I buy something, I sell half on a double. I could technically be invested in that thing forever. And I'll just keep letting it work. It's a funny strategy. It actually has me in massive cash position, which I don't mind. The interesting thing with this kind of strategy and, illustration purposes for the site, I use a fun little registered account I set up a year or two ago. And the value of the account has gone up about 50%. But at no given point in time was I ever more than 20-25% invested. Most of the time, the money just sat in cash. So what's a better strategy? To be fully invested in indexes and bonds and T-bills, and we know what low interest rates are now. And of course, you take all those associated risks. I mean, if you buy Government of Canada bond and the Government of Canada can't make its debt obligations and defaults on that bond, it could be just like the Confederate States in the U.S., the Gone with the Wind. Any of you Americans know the O'Hara story. Basically, he was invested in Confederate bonds, and they literally became worthless, and they lost their family fortune. So, ironically enough, cash at the end of the day is actually the only thing that actually really has any tangible value in our society, and yet it's the one thing that everybody seems to actually be at war with. I don't quite understand that logic, but oh well. So I sit primarily in cash, and then if I see an idea that I think I can double,
my money on, then I'll just go in and buy less than 5% of my portfolio worth, and I'll just look to sell half on a double. And then once that has happened, then I put the cash back on the cash pile, and I just go and look for another name and just rinse and repeat. And right now, I think I have something like about 60 or 70 free stocks and warrants and various different products on the books, all bought and paid for by the market. And they're continuing to perform. Every time they double, I'll sell another half. And I have all of my original cash back. Now, here's the kick in the pants. What was the number that I said? If you hit this number, then you basically are doing exactly what people ask out of equity, which is the risk part of the market. Keep in mind, T-bill rates, bonds, these are lower numbers. What was the number I said that if you got this number, you're doing pretty damn good? So 11%, right? So with my funny strategy, I've only been running it since last winter. Just even the cash balance right now is about 20-25% return. And I've got like 50 or 60 free stocks. So why would I even need to bother investing in bonds, which aren't really going to produce that great of a return? I just sit, basically on just a big mountain of cash. It's the way I like to do it. But remember, Brian's a weirdo. Is this the way that new people can come to the market to invest, especially for your retirement and stuff like that, and do this consistently year in, year out? I mean, do you understand VCIM? Do you understand the concept of buying at the bottom ends of ranges, buying W's? Do you understand patience and discipline and just simply sitting there and waiting? Do you understand the principle of selling half when an asset doubles in price? Just as sort of best practices to keep the hair on the top of your head and give you the ability to come and chat with you good people and try and impart some words of wisdom onto you. If you are at that stage, then fucking A, man. Just get in there, buy stuff, sell halves on doubles, rinse and repeat. Just keep doing it over and over and over. The wealth can be staggering. But I don't think if you just join the level 1 program, you're even close to there. If anything, what you need to be doing right now is I had that existing plan, and saving for your retirement is always a good idea. Saving money is a good idea. And since maybe you're not really that good at market timing, you're not really that good at fundamental analysis yet, maybe you will be down the road, but maybe just leave that plan in place and just keep doing, the saving. That's always a good thing. And then when you feel like you're ready, what I would suggest you do is maybe this year's savings, you're just going to leave in cash and just let that cash start to build up. And then, no more than 5% risk. When you feel like you're like, holy shit, this is a good looking weekly W. This is an industry I want to be invested in. This is a story that has a really good fundamental driver behind it. Well, go put 5% of your portfolio into that name. If it doubles, great. Get your money back. You got that big whack of cash. Do it again. 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 And really, I've personally found it's the easiest way to get stinking rich. It's ridiculous. It's so easy. And yet, it's so brainlessly simple. It's almost impossible for me to talk to you guys about it. I joked, when I left topstep, they were very angry at me, and they were like, Brian, you're wasting your time. I think I've got the message out, and I think I did JoJo's work. But that would be sort of my suggestion as how you might want to go about this. So, Brian, let me know if that helped answer your question. And go slowly. There's no reason to stop saving money, right? I'd also say too, Brian, too, for God's sakes, pay down debt. Pay down debt, pay down debt. Get out of debt. Neither a debtor nor a lender be. Get out of the business of being the bank's bitches. None of us should have a relationship with any of these bankers. I mean, that's my humble opinion. I think our society has conned society into getting us to the point where we have no choice. We have to have a relationship with these bankers, and then the bankers just turn you into their bitch. I don't think any of us have to have any relationship with bankers other than the bankers coming to us and saying, please, would you do business with us? And these are the incentives that we will give you to do business with us. Maybe become shareholders of these companies. So these cocksucking banker leeches actually pay you dividends. And you take advantage of them. That's another question altogether. All right, so there you go. Thanks a lot, Brian. Great answer. Awesome. What time is it? I've been blabbing away here for a couple hours, eh? You guys enjoying this? How about you people over on YouTube? You getting any value out of this rant here today? I never know with you guys. Sometimes it's sort of like hit and miss. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes far too ranty. I just never know. All right. Thank you, Joshua. Joshua James. All right. Last question. I have a personal issue. Uh-oh. I am afraid to put any money on a stock trading account. Well, me too, man. I'm chicken shit. I do not trust brokers, all right, and I do not want to put a lot of money on one particular account. You can do this through DeFi nowadays, you know that? So you could buy all your stock you want through cryptocurrencies if you really want to. You never have to touch the what do they call it? The legacy, right? Isn't that the word they use? Legacy markets. What's this? Maybe start with 1% on trades for that. Okay. Great rants. Love them. Thanks. Yes. Love it. You're the best, Brian. Oh, that's sweet of you. I'm not really. I'm just another human. Although I do feel as though I'm pretty damn good. Just kidding. All right. Okay, let's finish off this thought, and then I gotta go get ready for the bye. So everybody, give me a nice good luck today, Brian, with Liam. That always makes me feel really good, and it makes me feel this is worth it because all your sort of global karmic energy coming from all sort of points of the globe, all directed towards this beautiful little human that so desperately needs our help. Oh, that's awesome. That's totally awesome. Anyway. Good luck, Brian. All right, thank you, AE. Bitterx has some legacy stocks now. Yeah, see, there you go. So even Trex is getting in on the game, eh? Let's finish off this thought. Are there... and there are a lot of various minimal capital requirements. You should have at least N amount of money on this exchange. I do not know from where I should start eating this elephant and eliminate the fear. I don't know. Andre, you do pretty good trading crypto. Maybe just stay in crypto. To hell with the damn banksters. You're right. There are a bunch of sort of hurdles to jump through. I do like the idea that, I don't know what country you're in, Andre, but here in Canada, they have like registered accounts, and according to the registered account, this is for retirement purposes. The capital just grows tax-free, and they give you incentive to make those contributions, tax deductions. So it's a great way to sort of get you off your butt. It's a registered account, so most. I think in the States, 401k plans, I'd be curious to see whether there would be any crypto sort of deemed acceptable venues. I don't know whether they have yet or not. I know that a lot of these sort of mutual funds, they'll actually give people. Good luck with Leo. Thank you. Appreciate it. They'll give you access to sort of crypto proxies. And then, VCIMs, like again, I don't know what country you're in, Andre, but some of the VCIMers that are OTC listed, you Americans, you have the privilege of paying like a $50 fee to buy the goddamn OTC stock. Bleh, jerks. So, the ones that are senior listed, like if you do interactive brokers, I'm not quite sure what their account minimums are. They're probably 10, 20 grand or something nowadays. You're right. There is that big barrier of entry that, just might not make it realistic. The little VCIM stocks sure are a lot of fun. Colleen says here she put in $1,000. So, if Colleen can get an IB account going for $1,000, I think probably that should be in your wheelhouse. On TD, it's $5. All right. So I think there are, and Andre, my suggestion to you is just keep working away on the site. I'd love to hear that you're going to transition into level 2. Really get fucking kick-ass with some of these killer concepts we teach. Then get to the level 3, and Zach and I will take care of you, and you can just ride all of the TRI SOF karma. So go slowly. I would, we got lots of Americans. Like I said, Colleen here, she, I think, lives down in the southern U.S., so I'm not sure where you are. If you're in Europe, I know some of our Europeans, they use IB, and it seems to work pretty well for them. If you're here in Canada, it shouldn't really be that big of a deal. Go slow. No hurry. And thank you very much. I will try and have an awesome day with Liam. I was really impressed. I think it's Andrew has built one hell of a VCIM screener. He said it takes something like 16 hours for the whole script to run, and it gives him like the whole universe of everything. So he said he was going to send me the file, so I can peruse. VCIMs have done really, really well, and actually this should be a good environment for them for like the next 10, 15 years. So I would all encourage you, just get familiar. And more importantly, get familiar with why. Why does the VCIM work? That's really important. I was joking with the level 3ers actually about this in class on Saturday. That it's, I used to have this math teacher in high school, and I can't remember what grade it was, but you had to learn the quadratic formula. And he used to always go, well, don't memorize it, learn it. But he never really sort of went into detail as to like what it is we were actually learning and what the different variables meant and how they interact. I mean, he was just punching a clock. But I would say sort of the same thing with all these fundamental models. I mean, why does VCIM work? Well, does it make sense if you are buying stock below where the insiders are long? That's actually a good place to be long stock? Ironically enough, the same logic works in cryptocurrencies. But somebody was telling me that the exact same thing that happened in the ICO market is happening now, where projects that are going to come to market are letting agencies know that they're coming to market. The agencies are going out and finding social influencers and paying them a little bit of money to encourage their audience to take a really good look at this project. Is this conflict of interest? Holy fuck yeah. Is this unethical? Holy fuck yeah. In Canada, if you had done this as a stockbroker, would you lose your license and be run out of the industry? Holy fuck yeah. But in crypto, par for the course. So be forewarned. The point of VCIM is to simply say, look at, I don't know what fucking tier I'm getting in on your deal here. Am I like the 4th or 5th generation of shill here? Where I'm actually coming and buying an incredibly overvalued asset because some guy has marked it up and sold it to another guy and marked it up and sold it to another guy and marked it up and sold it to another guy. Well, VCIM simply says, look, you have to tell me where the insiders are long this thing. Where did the shill start? And I will only be long below where those cocksuckers are long. And they want to shill it? Fine. They can shill it into my doubles, triples, quadruples, Foggenbaum levels, all they want. I mean, Andre, that's the power of VCIM. It forces you to be long below where Mr. German guy is long. Oh, fine, I'll be in your story, Mr. German guy, but I'm going to be in lower than where you're long, not higher. Does that make sense? I mean, that's why that model works so well. And the sad part about it, I told you, I see every single thing about the ICO shill bullshit. I see it happening here. It's the exact same thing. It's so sad. No, well. Business as usual. Capitalism 101. And if you can take advantage of it and get rich on the pumps, great, do it. But don't have your name associated with any of these damn things. Because when the shit hits the fan, it'll hit hard and it will spray everywhere. And I hate the taste of shit. All right, on that note, have yourselves a wonderful afternoon. All right, guys. Rant. Ramble. Sure hope you enjoyed that. Have an awesome rest of your day. Colleen wants you to say PMA for the win, Brian. We're going to change this world for the better. Ring that bell. Hit the like button. Subscribe for now, or however the hell the damn rant goes. Have yourselves a great day. And the only thing left for good old Brian to say at this point is a big... bye for now.